Do you have a business that you're running that has you in a constant state of burnout? Or maybe you've normalized the busyness and the exhaustion. Maybe you're overwhelmed and maybe even a little bit bitter towards your business. Well, I'm here to share that that does not have to be your story anymore. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 steps that I took to really build the business that I love. Oh my goodness, and you deserve this, so stay tuned. So, the first thing I did is I leveraged my passion. Far too often, I find people that are in business just for the sake of being in business, right? They're not necessarily doing anything that they love, but maybe they jumped into a business idea hoping that they would grow to like it. Or maybe they jumped into a business idea focused only on the money. But here's what I want to share. If you focus on impact, money will definitely come. And I remember being young and really trying to decide on my career when I was going to college. And my mom told me, she said, pick a career that you know you're going to love. Because when you do something you love, you will never work a day in your life. Now, that may sound a little bit cliche, or maybe you've heard it and you've been like, that's not possible. But I'm here to share that you can take your passion and you can profit off of it. And when you do that, you will never feel like you're working. Here's one thing that I want you to take away. What's desired by you is available for you. I'm a firm believer that your passions and your desires weren't laid in your heart in vain. And so allow those to be a form of guidance, putting you on the right path to create the success that you desire and deserve. The second step that I took that probably took me way too long was I learned my human design. And what I love so much about human design is the ultimate permission slip to come home to you. It's the permission slip to just be yourself. You see, the problem is when we're on social media and we're comparing our business model or our business ideas with everyone else's, we automatically buy into the idea that, okay, they post 3 times a day, I need to post 3 times a day. Oh, they have this massive, huge, following, I have to have this massive following. And we buy into these expectations that work for one person and assume that they're going to work for us. But I'm here to share that business is not a one size fits all. So what I mean by that is what works for one person doesn't necessarily mean that it's a guarantee to work for you. And so what was a game changer for me was learning that I'm a 1-3 emotional manifester. Now, for the sake of time, I'm just going to explain it really quickly. But with a 1-3, I'm an investigator. I'm supposed to learn. I'm supposed to make a lot of mistakes along the way, but I'm supposed to leverage and learn from my mistakes. Being an emotional authority means that I make decisions over time and I can't be rushed to make decisions. And as a manifester, I'm supposed to be a fire starter, meaning I'm supposed to start something new and have support to really be able to see it through. Now, for me, for a really long time, I hated that it took me forever to make decisions. I hated that I needed to investigate every small detail. And I absolutely hated that I didn't have energy in the same way that I feel like other people have energy. But when I learned human design, it finally felt like this puzzle piece that I was looking for to complete this beautiful picture. I came to embrace that this is how I was designed, and I started to be intentional about taking action aligned with it. So now I give myself permission to investigate thoroughly until it feels great for me. I give myself permission to ride my emotional wave to get to the point of making aligned decisions. And I give myself permission to create and to trust that the amazing things I create aren't supposed to have already been created before. And so it's okay if it makes no sense to anyone else, as long as it makes sense to me. If you're new to human design and that intrigued you and you'd love to know more, definitely check out the show notes and you can grab your link there. Oh my gosh, you can get a session and it's going to be such a transformative experience for you because you finally get to see that you were designed for a purpose and on purpose, and you'll start to be able to align with it. It's such a beautiful experience. Step 4 is I prioritized my mindset and my self-care. So as I mentioned with my human design, I'm one of those people that likes to learn. And so I started to really dive in depth to learn about mindset and the way that our mindset plays a role. I also started to dive in depth about appropriate ways to take care of my body because your body keeps score. And one of the most life-changing things that I came across was somatics. And somatics is all about the mind-body connection. Through understanding and learning somatics, really implementing self-care and prioritizing mindset work, I really got to a point where I created a calm and regulated nervous system. And when you have a calm and regulated nervous system, you're less likely to be operating and normalizing anxiety. You're less likely to make frantic decisions from a place of overwhelm. And you're just at a state of calm. And in turn, you're able to call in and attract the things that you really want into your life. It's been a game changer. I also learned how to prioritize self-care without worrying or convincing myself that my business would go down the drain if I wasn't present every single second. In fact, I've learned, and I know this sounds cliche, but I can't fill from an empty cup. And so now I'm at a place where I can prioritize filling my cup so that I can fill others' cups from the overflow. Now, with self-care, mindset, somatics, as well as human design combined, I would love to share what my fourth step was. And this one really was that step that I feel like most people overlook. And it's all about not just taking in information, but about integration. So a lot of times when I talk to new coaches in this online space, they'll talk about, okay, well, I've taken this course, or I've invested in this, or I've done this, but what have you integrated? Because information is great, but if you're not actually applying it, you're not just going to just see the shift. So instead of just taking in that information, I integrated it. And that looked like me playing with self-care. So I started off with 5 minutes of self-care every day, and I built up to it to the point where now if I don't do self-care, it feels off. Like it's so weird. I can't even imagine that, right? I started to play with mindset, and I started to really understand, okay, the way my thoughts work. I really started to understand neuro-linguistic programming and the way to reprogram my mind to really create the success I want, because your reality is a direct reflection of your thoughts. I started to take different somatic practices and incorporate them into my routine so that a regulated nervous system became my norm. And I started to do some deconditioning work around my human design. So I stopped forcing myself to make decisions that didn't feel aligned or that felt rushed. But I really started to take my deconditioning work to that next level so that I could align with who I truly am designed to be. My own journey was that foundation for why I built the Elevate Method coaching certification program the way that I built it. So if you're not familiar with the Elevate Method coaching certification program, this is a comprehensive coaching program where we walk you through the process of building a profitable, impactful, and sustainable business from your passion. Through this program, not only are you learning coaching tools that you can take and weave into your own business, you're also learning how to apply those into your own life. You literally cannot come out of this program the same person. With the program, we're not just throwing some certification at you. You are not only going to be certified, but you're going to get the coaching around how to effectively leverage it and understanding the science behind it. You're also going to be amongst a powerful community of like-minded women that are not only working to see their vision through, but people that you can connect with, because research says that we are an average of the top 5 people we spend the most amount of time with. So to be in a space with other women that see your vision and the way that you do that, prioritize their vision, and to really set the standard of what's normal, it's a game changer. Which leads me to my 5th and final strategy and step that I implemented to really build a business that I love so much is I got support. Many times we convince ourselves that support is actually a sign of weakness, when really getting support is a sign of strength. The truth is you cannot do it all alone, and even if you could, you shouldn't. So when I started my business, there were 2 different areas that I got support in. One, I hired a coach. And I'm a firm believer that when you hire a coach, you get to fast track your way to success, because they get to look at your unique business model and support you at really creating the right foundation, as well as creating the right pathway to actually see the entire process through. You learn from their mistakes, so you also get to make that process pretty quick. The second way that I got support is I hired a virtual assistant. And at first I was a little bit hesitant because I wasn't making money in my business. I'm like, why would I hire a virtual assistant? But what I learned in the process of hiring a virtual assistant is when they were doing the tasks that I didn't love, it freed up my time for me to stay in my zone of genius. And when you make room to stay in your zone of genius, the things that you get to create are mind-blowing. So just as a brief overview, I want to review the 5 steps. The first thing I did is I leveraged my passion and learned how to make it profitable. The second thing I did was I learned my human design, which has been a game changer for me. The third thing I did was I prioritized self-care and mindset and learned a lot about the somatic work behind it. The fourth thing that I did is I stopped just taking in information and I made integration my priority. And then the 5th thing that I did is I also prioritized support. I share all of this to say that your vision and your greatest desires are possible. You just need the strategies, the systems, and the deep beliefs that it's possible, and you get to bring your vision to life. Now, because like I mentioned before, I don't want you to just have information. I want you to have integration. That's where the transformation takes place. So I challenge you to consider, what is that next step that you can take that your future self will thank you for?